power up energy startups. We'll have a discussion which builds a lot on what Witold Sosnowski was saying about wave of ICOs and how they are being used by startup energy companies and not only startup energy companies. Gentlemen, please take your seats. We short one man, Mateusz Kowalczyk had to leave, so well, I'll take his place unless you don't want me to.
Guys, more and more people are talking about ICOs.
Just let it happen.
Maybe I have some little question about, do you consider it rather as some kind of fashion right now? Or is rather something important and that it's going to be more and more important in the future?
I think it's both. I think actually what we have, there is some kind of a bubble. A lot of people like to call it this way. We have a lot of people who are investing unwisely. But on the other hand, the ICOs themselves bring a little bit different model of investing, and investing not into the stock of the company, but into the utility of the company. And also, it brings new money that is less regulated, which is, in my opinion, good because it opens up smaller investors to bigger opportunities. Of course, the investing has to be smart. So we will see a lot of not really smart investors right now who are investing, and this is the fashion part. But the things that are coming with the whole movement, with the whole technology, and with the whole way of investing in ICOs, it will stay with us. So there will be probably some regulation. There will be less people who invest because a lot of them will get burned, but it will stay.
So I think pretty much agree with most of that. I think there's a problem for those of us who have not done an ICO, and I'll express it like this. I mean, you've seen, let me pick on Grid Plus. They raised $70 million on the back of a white paper. The guys who are behind it, most of them aren't even in the energy industry. I personally think that the mechanism that they're proposing is not going to work. But nonetheless, you've got to face up to the fact they've raised $70 million. So where does that leave the rest of us? So I look at this situation and I say my competitors are raising $70 million on the back of something which, even though I might think it doesn't work, I can't afford to just sit around and expect it to fail completely, because they're not going to burn through all of that cash before they're going to cotton on to the fact that maybe there's some smarter ideas out there. And before I know where I am, I'm going to have half my staff being lured away with massive salaries and some great opportunity that they've stolen effectively from other people in the industry. So it's not something, unfortunately, that can be ignored. But I would raise huge question marks around the majority of the ones that I've seen so far. Okay.
I think, are ICOs the right way to power up energy startup? The answer is a definitely yes. But there's a second question: for who? Because if it's for a startup, who wants free money here? I mean, you know, like, that's the question, like, who wants free money? I mean, if one of you say that I'm thinking about it, you know, like, legally you have no obligation whatsoever, and this is $70 million, like, who is not there anymore, you know? That's the point. But is it going to be financially viable for people who are investing in that ICO was the question, you know? It is the, you know, like the reality of, do people even know where they're putting their money? So, I really feel like the whole methodology, because you also have a very key point here for startups, not for big corporations. We're not talking about how the beginning is going to basically fund their next project. We're talking about how startups are going to do that. And I would say yes. I mean, one thing is very important is the power. I'm not a socialist in these kind of things, but power to people, you know? Like, you literally try to look at how people are going to look at one technology and say that my 1 penny is going to just make a difference in what I want to do. And that's how I see an ideology in the ICO. I'm not looking at the implementation of that. I'm not looking at the legal aspects of that. I'm just looking at the idea that when I want the technology to appear, then I have my small money and I can contribute it and then that person, even though that they don't have the technology, can try to evolve it and just give me back what I really want, and then I will enjoy it in my personal life. And if that could really happen, then that's awesome.
I think there's been so many interesting things being said just in the last 5 minutes that I really don't know where to start. I mean, first of all, Paul has this perspective of energy startup, you know, and he's talking about competition. If he doesn't raise money, but somebody else raises, and they use that money to enter the field where perhaps Paul would have wanted to enter, but he cannot because he doesn't have money because somebody has raised it, and they are sort of ahead of the game. Okay, this is great perspective, you know, this is a very, very interesting question, a game theory type question, coming back to what you said before, to your comments, about why, as a startup, why would you want to raise money or not raise money? Well, you'd rather raise money because it gives you a competitive advantage. And second perspective is that of an investor, and I think this is very dodgy, really, because you've got projects based on 2 pages of white paper which says really nothing. It's not even a business plan. It's just it's like a statement of intention, you know, saying, give us $70 million, we'll make the world a better place, you know. And this is pretty much what it is in quite a few cases. And I think this will harm investor very badly some time down the road. And yes, and this is my summary of what's been said so far.
But we also have to remember that those companies that are raising funds through the ICO are startups. And the idea of a startup is either win big or fail. So all of those companies, most of them will fail in my opinion, and it is responsibility of the investor to be aware of the fact that they are investing in risky things, in things that will probably burn with a very bright flame. So if you spread your investments between different ICOs that are promising, then you will probably have some kind of return. And the other fact is that, well, those investments are liquid, like right now, and you can exit earlier, even if the company fails. So there is some way of managing the risk, even though those companies, there is a lot of problematic projects that are very dodgy, as you said. But I think that if you invest smartly, then you can actually mitigate that risk, and this is what investors should do.
In the financial services market, there are regulations that prevent people from throwing their cash into investments that then go up in smoke. Because what happens is the pitchforks come out and they're marching on the local government to close everything down, and they're pretty annoyed. And the problem, it's one thing to say investors have got to go off and do it. The thing is, when they've lost that money, they're not going to be content with you saying effectively, look, you should have had a better sight of this. And just bear in mind that a lot of these investments are, and we saw a couple of them up there, are thinly disguised securities, and they will fall by the wayside. The people who promoted them will get into serious trouble, and it's not really, I think, the right ICO is a carefully thought through mechanism, and I agree that there's a lot of value in them. Carefully thought through mechanism with a proper business plan, with some proper technology that's already sitting behind it, that is actually going to have a genuine prospect of making some form of value to the people who put the money in. And I've avoided the use of the word investment because you have to.
Is there any way to control ICO by, for example, Polish Supervisory Financial Commission or FCA?
They've said no.
I mean, I would say even one step more than that. I have a lot of friends, good friends in the social entrepreneurship. One of them, he was basically just talking about the fact that you have to stop people from smoking outside. I was like, why do you want to put a regulation on something? Just go and try to look at the underlying issue. Why people are smoking outside? Don't drink outside, don't smoke outside. What if you can try to go back to the underlying issue and understand? Even what you said about like what cannot right now raise 70 million because they already did it, that's not true. He can raise 200 million because the money is not over. It's not like 70 million was here and now there's no 70 more million, so now you cannot do your ICO. I would say that this is a free market. And we don't have to start over-regulating it in this way. If there is this hype, we can educate people about understanding that, as you said, I don't even call it an investment. I also said that that was not my intention at all. I didn't say that let's start doing an ICO to make people rich. I said let's make an ICO to make good technologies happen. I was not talking about the fact, from my point of view, paying for an ICO is literally like supporting your artist. It's like, I don't know how many of you guys have Legia's card. I mean, like, you don't say own a part of the country. Like, it's your favorite football match, so you just pay something for that the football could happen. Just go there and cheer, and I was like, yay, something happened. So for me, that's what I see. When I see an interesting technology, hypothetically, we were talking about like 40 years ago and the electric cars, and we say, okay, so the General Motors do not want us to have electric cars. But now I can say that, okay, so there's an Elon Musk guy here, and he wants to give us electric cars. I don't want to buy a share of his company, I just want to enable him to create a car for me. Not everybody like Elon Musk has $100 million in his back in order to basically start what he wants to do. Imagine if he didn't have that money and he could raise it by an ICO. That's what I see as an ideology that how this can work. And this is the money right now. I was talking to people from the Bitcoin Foundation and other people that I would say they are as close as possible to the core. And I was like, guys, when you are not talking to public, it's an open platform, YouTube and other places. So people will start giving, and I would say poisoning people with this FOMO, fear of missing out. And I was like, you have to be there, you have to buy it. Oh, like if you don't buy Bitcoin today because it's not going to, it's expensive, tomorrow it's going to be more expensive. And I was like, oh, I'm poor, I want to have some fast money, so what's better than this? Oh, there is this ICO, Grid Plus, so definitely let's go there. If a person with a proper